Yo, what's up, and welcome to episode 101 of Throwback Hoops. My name is Rob Clayton, and as always, joining me is the man on the mic, Woody V. Episode 101, Woods.
Yes, and a great way to start the new year, 2024, man. Really excited. Exhibited last week. It was such a great experience doing this 100th episode. Lala was nice enough to host our 100th episode, so it's really nice to start the year with episode 101, brother.
Absolutely, mate. And before we get into it, on that note, Happy New Year to to yourself, to all our viewers, and everything else like that. I hope 2024 is going to be a good one. 24 is my lucky and favourite number, so I'm hoping that'll mean it'll be a good year for me. But we'll see how that goes. But all right, before we get into it, just a reminder where to find us. Please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube. If listening to the audio, we're available where all podcasts are found. And yeah, let's get into it, Woods. As always, we'll start with jerseys, right? Yeah. What do you got for us today? A Pistons one? I'm not sure who it is. It's going to be a surprise. So, who you got for us today?
Man, let me stand up.
Nazr Mohammed, maybe? It is. Nice. Very random. I was actually going to guess that one when you told me you had a random Pistons one, Woods. So I do like that one. Yeah.
You know, I had this one.
I'll guess the number. Yeah, I'm good with numbers, but yeah, I like that. A bit of a connection to the Spurs as well, because you did play with them. I'm sure you.
Yeah, so I got the Spurs down as well.
Yep.
With all these played there. So yeah, just a little bit about Nazr Mohammed. He's actually the son of Elijah Mohammed, an entrepreneur from Ghana, and he was born and raised in Chicago, right? He was the 29th overall pick in the first round of the 1998 NBA draft by the Utah Jazz. Where he got traded to Philadelphia soon after. He suited up for the Utah Jazz. Had an 18-year NBA career, Robbie, with Philadelphia, Atlanta, New York, San Antonio, as we mentioned, Detroit, stints with the Thunder, and the Chicago Bulls. NBA champion in 2005, and also he was a two-time NCAA champion as well in college. So. At Kentucky. So what do you remember about Nazr Mohammed? Just a great role player who was able to last in the league because he was happy to have the role, a rim runner, a guy who would do all the dirty work that didn't necessarily always show up on the stat sheet, right?
It's funny, I wouldn't have guessed 18 years if he would have had a set. I knew he had a reasonably long career, but yeah, 18 is pretty amazing. Certainly remember his time with the Hawks. I remember he was a fan favourite there. He was, the team and coaches always raved about him and stuff. So, obviously fit that role, didn't he, wherever he went. He was happy to come in off the bench, do the dirty work, rebound. He had a few games that probably surprised you scoring-wise as well, from memory. He definitely had some skills. He just wasn't always asked to show them there. But, we love the random jerseys, Woods, and that's probably about as random as one we can get here. So I like it.
Well, you mentioned that Atlanta season, a couple of seasons in Atlanta. I think it was 3 seasons in Atlanta. One of them he averaged 18 points and rebounds a game. So he had his moments, right?
Yep.
Towards the end of his career, obviously, he had 6 fouls to give, and he just come on as a backup second string big, and that's what gave him that longevity in the league. And he's an NBA champion as well, right? So
I like it. And a brand new hat, I believe, you got over the Christmas break?
Yeah, man, I got a few new hats, so this is one of them. So Nate, shout out, man. I know you love your Spurs, so I know you.
I like that old logo as well. It always looks good. So nice. Like what you're doing today. Well, for me, I'm showing some very new jerseys. They kind of arrived in the Christmas break. A couple of city editions, Woods. I was keen on getting these two. Two guys I like. So I'll start with the one hanging behind me. So it's none other than a Domantas Sabonis Kings City Edition jersey. I've liked the guy that I affectionately refer to as the man with the biggest head in the NBA for quite some time now. Really like that jersey. I think when we talked about the City Edition jerseys, that was one of my favourites. I like the style of that. It's a nice looking jersey. And a little bit on Big Domas there. So I think he's having one of the best seasons of his career in the NBA this year. So his averages are close to 20, 12, and 7.5. So huge numbers there. I've got him in a couple of fantasy teams, and he's just beast mode there. Also shooting 60% from the floor as well, can stretch the floor and hit the three. So the 27-year-old, I think, is an absolute lock to make his 4th All-Star game this season. He's just putting up, as I said, career numbers there. Maybe goes under the radar a little bit. I think we've mentioned the trade that he was in that got him from Indy to Sacramento. So it was the Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton trade. So, some people might just think, that was such a win for Indiana. And Halliburton's obviously younger and putting up amazing numbers. But don't sleep on Big Domas there. He would have to be the third best big in the league off the top of the head. I mean, obviously you have Embiid and Joker in front of him. He'd have to be the next sort of one you'd be calling on there, and very skilled player. I love the big lefty there, but yeah, what's your thoughts on Big Domas?
I mean, the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. I remember Arvidas Sabonis, his father, and what great court vision he had. His ability to pass out of the post was unbelievable. And you see some of those intangibles that his father had being passed on to his son. So I think the one thing that stands out for him is much like a lot of these European who come here with the ability to have great court vision, see the floor, and make great passes from the pivot, right?
Yeah.
You see Joker, right? Domantas is cut from the same cloth, and I think that's what differentiates him from other big diversity, right? So yeah,
it's funny those other bigs the other bigs we mentioned in Joker and Embiid, obviously really good passes as well. So it just shows you how the game's changed. We've talked about guys on this show like your Patrick Ewings and your Dikembes and stuff like that. I couldn't picture those guys, dribbling the ball just outside the three-point line, setting up an offense and being a willing passer. It shows how much the game has evolved over the years. So yeah, I'm pleased to get that one. That's definitely been on the list for a while, getting a Domas one. And I'll show you the one I'm wearing first. I'll stand up and show you it, and then talk a little bit about the player.
Yep. Robbie's wearing the Atlanta number 13 Bogdanovic jersey.
Now, I told you I was going to get one of these Hawk City edition ones, right? It was a bit of a toss-up who to get, but I'm glad I got Bogdanovic. I've got to say, he's probably been one of the few bright spots this year for the Hawks, having a pretty disappointing season as a team. But again, like Sabonis, he's really having a career year. It's actually his best scoring season of his career, which is not bad for a 31-year-old. So he's averaging close to 18 points a game. Good thing about him as well for our Hawks was he's under a contract for another 3 seasons. On a pretty good deal. So I know there's been talk about some possible trades that the Hawks might make. I'm pretty sure, and I really hope he won't be involved in those. He was actually a really good free agent signing by the Hawks a few years ago. I think he was quite regarded around the league, but the Hawks took a bit of a punt on him. We saw him having a great World Cup, last year now. I've got to say that now. It's 2024. So yeah, pleased to have the bogey jersey. This is in the contention for one of the ones I might wear when we see our 3 Hawks games next year. So, I'm going to be wearing a Dominic jersey for one and a Trey jersey for another. So the third jersey is open. Could be this, or it could just be a random old school one or something. But yeah, what's your thoughts? Firstly on the jersey and then on bogey.
Well, from one Sacramento King, he was a Sacramento King previously before he come to our Hawks. So he really started proving himself there. I think a guy like Bogey got his opportunity later in life. He already played in Europe for a few years. He was an old rookie. So he came with that, a bit of experience before coming into the league, and that really helped him. I remember he was a huge free agent signing. Everyone was looking to get his hands on when he was leaving Sacramento. So it's been a great pickup for us. And as you said, he's been unbelievable this year. That 40 is unreal. He's shooting the lights out. Can't leave that guy open. Shooting comes at a premium in this league. So I think we do well to hold on to him, and I hope trade definitely, right? Because he's started to prove himself at the wheel almost on that team this year, right? Yeah.
Definitely. Look, I mentioned Sabonis as a lock for that All-Star berth. You have to say Bogey would be a lock for 6th man of the year. He's really putting up, as I said, career numbers coming off the bench, and he gives the Hawks a real spark there. Again, he's a pretty good playmaker as well, possibly a little bit of an underrated playmaker. Yep. He can sort of handle the rock pretty well and pass. So, yeah, so a couple of new City Edition ones. I'm liking these ones. So,
hey, just quickly going back to Sacramento, you did mention the Halliburton Domantas trade, and I just wanted to say, those two have just fit like a glove together, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. I think Indiana's doing well with that trade. Sacramento's happy with that big 2 created on the back of it. So both should be the results. So
I think Sabonis and Fox would be a good NBA Jam combo, wouldn't they? If you're putting together some of those dynamic duos in the league. I love the way, and both a couple of lefties as well, which is pretty random. They could maybe could be future candidates for the Knicks to get, knowing how much they love left-handers on that team. So, and speaking of the Knicks, we'll talk a little bit about them later as well. So, all right, good. They did. Well, some good jerseys this week. And on that note, we'll start with some NBA, right? So I gave us a little bit of homework, didn't I? It's we're currently recording on the 2nd of January, so I thought we'd do some New Year's resolutions for a couple of teams. I know we've done 2 each. What we might do is you do one, then I do one, so to do it like that. So why don't you take it away and give us a team that you've picked and what their New Year's resolutions might be?
Okay, let's start with the Reds. I think at the time of me putting this together, there were 15 and 14, just above 500, right? My New Year's resolution for the Rockets is learn how to win some game on the road. They've been really, really good at home, but not so much when they're traveling. I think must have been the first week of December that they picked up the first victory outside Houston. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was very recently, right? And they're currently an impressive 12-4 at the Toyota Center compared to 3-10 away. So I think figuring out how to win some road games is going to be really important for the Rockets if they want to make some noise in that Western Conference, right?
Good call. I think having a young team as well, if they can sort of get those road wins, it's definitely going to bring them close together, isn't it? You know, just having that extra time on planes and downtime and stuff like that. So, who are you liking on that Rockets team this year?
Look, Sengun for sure. He just talked about the big man who comes in with the lead to pass, all sorts of things. Numbers, he's nearly averaging a triple-double last I checked, right? So I think he's been far and away the surprise for that team this year. And you know, the younger guys stepping up around him have been, you know, Van Vliet brings that experience to that roster, you know, which you mentioned a lot of young guys. They don't have too many veterans on that team, so Van Vliet brings that experience. But yeah, no one would have expected Upper and Sengun to play his level. So I think he's been a big part of why they've been so successful. Yeah.
And they're a fun team to watch as well. I like checking them out on League Pass when you can as well. I don't think you're going to see them on, you know, the ESPN games a whole lot this year, if at all. But enjoying watching the Rockets. And I think
so 21.3 points, 9.1 rebounds, 5.3 assists. So he's not averaging a triple double. They're silly numbers, right?
I mean, he's a sneaky all-star chance. I mean, obviously, there's already a
for
few
sure
there. You'd have to be in contention, wouldn't he?
For sure, man.
The team's probably exceeding expectations. He's up there, right?
Yeah. I would say so. That Western Conference will be tough, but I think he has a chance to get one of those bench spots. You know?
No, good one. All right, well, I'll put my Homer hat on, and I'm going to talk about the Hawks for my first team New Year's resolution. I guess the general theme for me with the Hawks would be just to start playing consistent ball and closing out games. You know, definitely consistency has been a big issue for the Hawks. They've given away a lot of leads in the fourth quarter. You know, I really start to think a big run is needed before the season really starts to get away from them now. So the Hawks are currently 6 games under 50% Woods, which is pretty alarming, right? We know last year it was kind of that win one, lose one, and they, you know, of course, finished with 41 wins, but 6 games under 50% and currently out of the play-in tournament. So pretty disappointing. I think, look, if they can get some consistency and start to close out games like I mentioned, there's still a chance. Probably if I'm talking about consistency there, it's guys like Onyeka Okongwu. He seems to have a good game, then goes missing. And also I think our 2 big guns in Trey and DJ, they need to play a little bit smarter in fourth quarters. There's been some games where we just need to run out the clock more, and they both sort of, you know, getting turnovers and stuff like that. I watched the game yesterday. They played the Wizards. We're up all game in that game, up 13 points in the at three-quarter time. The Wizards got it back to 4 points in that last quarter. So that kind of summed it up.
I saw the game too.
Exactly. So it summed up what the Hawks are like, and they've just got to close out these games better. We've mentioned before, they can't sack the coach again, right? They're not going to do that. They're kind of stuck with this roster. You know, they've had a few people out, but I think every team, it's not like an excuse. You know, we've had Jalen Johnson was out for a while, Hunter's been out for a while, but every team's dealing with an injury to one of their core players. So, yeah, I think they've just got to toughen up a little bit, show some consistency, and I think we're still a chance. Woods, I'm still holding the faith there, but yeah, at the moment, 6 games under 50% is certainly not where we were hoping that they'd be this year. So, all right, well, that's my first one. So, who you got for your second NBA New Year's resolution?
Yeah, well, quickly, just before we move on, I just got to say that I've been watching the Hawks games lately, Robbie, and this is something I've seen. Some of their issues are related to effort, right? They're not a great rebounding team at all, the Hawks, right? And they're also really bad at transition defense. So I guess getting into some of that gang rebounding, finding to get back offense, these are all effort-related things that they out. So better on defensive end and rebound is going to go along with some of those issues in the year.
Yeah, no, for sure. They just need to start turning around now, don't they, before it gets too late?
Yep. All right, so on to my second team for New Year's resolution. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Lakers here. And a big part of this, the New Year's resolution I'm giving them is treat LeBron James with care, right? Somehow, I don't know how, LeBron is still playing at like an all-NBA level in his 20th season. And that's all in great. The bad news is they're hovering around 500 despite LBJ's best efforts. And look, when he's not on the court, they're the worst offensive team in the NBA when he sits on the bench, right? And if Los Angeles Lakers are going to compete this season, they're going to have to strike a nice balance, you know. as much as they can of LeBron James, but also keeping him fit and healthy for that season run. He's played a lot of minutes. They're relying on him so much that by the time the 82-game season is done, they just sneak into a play-in or 8-7 seed. He's going to be burnt out. So my new year, find some right comment, try and win games at the same point, protecting the God. Yeah, so that's the resolution I'm giving them.
Of course, it was funny. I was looking at the standings earlier today, and I was kind of surprised where they were. I mean, they're still playing 50% ball, but 10th place, and even more surprisingly, they're in front of Golden State. So it just shows you how tight the West is. I mean, some of these teams above them, I'm going to say it, I was pretty wrong on Dallas. They've really exceeded where I thought they'd be. The Pelicans are playing really good ball. We saw them beat the Lakers yesterday. So, and Minnesota, I'm glad I called that one. They're 24-8 Woods, Minnesota. So, yeah, the Lakers, need to sort of make sure they're healthy going into the stretch run there. Because the season's going quick, right? What are we? So each team's played around 31, 32, 33 games there. So we're not far off the halfway.
Probably one-third, almost one-third, right? Or around one-third. Yeah.
Nice, and the countdown's getting even closer to when we go, Woods, just in case you weren't aware how excited I was for that. So, all right, nice. Well, I'll do another one. So I've got a West team as well I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to talk about the Phoenix Suns. So my New Year's resolution for the Phoenix Suns just has to be for the team getting healthy, right? So Phoenix has currently played 33 games, only 3 with their big 3. So only 3 times. They played today. Durant was out, so only 3 games together, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal. So they're struggling a little bit as well. Currently 18 and 15 in 8th place in the West. So probably a little bit down where people thought. But I guess if they've got that record without, playing with that big 3 for, 30 of their 33 games, I think there's definitely room to grow there. And look, I think getting some health into these guys, they'll start to climb up that ladder. It does seem a little bit like a big if, though, Woods. I've got to say, keeping 3 guys that, probably not renowned as being the most healthy 3. Bradley Beal, especially this year, he can't seem to get a break there. He's had back issues, hasn't been able to sort of get a lot of games under his belt and hasn't really performed. Durant's been amazing this year. He's putting up some great numbers. We saw him get 15 assists in a game last week, which is pretty remarkable.
I saw that. 16, wasn't it?
16. Okay, we'll give another one. Yeah, and look, obviously Devin Booker's a very consistent player these days. So yeah, that's a big one for me. So it's interesting, like I said, you look down those standings in the Western Conference and you're looking right down towards the play-in and you're seeing teams like the Lakers, you're seeing Phoenix, and obviously, as I said, Golden State out of the top 10 altogether. So it's going to be interesting to see which of those veteran-type teams make a run there. But yeah, I think if Phoenix can get a bit more health and start playing some more games with that big 3, they'll start to move up. All right, so hopefully the teams like the resolutions we go for them, right? A couple of teams there that we probably think can improve and play some more consistent ball.
Hey, it was good to also see Bradley Beal come back and play well in the last couple of games. I think he had 25, yesterday or the day before. So he's starting to know that he's healthy and back and fit. So as long as they can get these 3 guys up and running and healthy for the playoffs, then I think they're in space.
Well, it was a big shift for Beal, wasn't it? He played all his career in the Eastern Conference with one team. He suddenly goes to the Western Conference, very different team, trying to fit in with playing alongside 2 superstars. He's pretty much had the keys with Washington those last couple of seasons, hasn't he, with being the man there. So it's trying to fit in. He hasn't played a lot of games yet, but once he starts to build it up, he's a guy I like to watch as well, Beal. So hopefully it all works out for him. So, all right, good stuff, Woods. Appreciate that. Well, all right, next up with our NBA sort of talk here, we're going to talk about a trade that happened a few days ago. So one of those trades that the more I think about it, I actually feel like I like it for both teams, which is something you can't always say. I'll get your thoughts on that one there. But if you haven't heard it, Toronto and New York had a trade. So Toronto traded OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, and Malachi Flynn to the Knicks for RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and a second rounder. So I think you can scrap the second rounder. I don't think the second rounder is really helping them a whole lot there. So essentially you're looking at Anunoby and Precious for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley there. So I'll give you
Malachi Flynn as well.
Malachi Flynn, apologies, yeah. So, he's probably going to get some minutes there, depending on that situation in the Knicks. I'll give some quick thoughts before you give me yours. So, like I said, I think I like it both for both teams. I think the Knicks have added a tough defender in getting Anunoby there. He looked good in his first game today as well. I wonder if that injury to Mitchell Robinson was one of the reasons why they tried to go out and take a bit of a gamble on someone like Precious Achiuwa there. So he's someone that could help out. Obviously, they're down a big guy. There's not a lot of big man depth in in New York there with Hartenstein and not a lot else without Robinson.
Taj Gibson.
Yeah, well, Taj Gibson's about your age, isn't he? So not sure
he's starting, isn't he?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And look for the Raptors. They get a hometown player. You know, it's well documented. He's grown up being a Raptors fan, RJ Barrett there. So he was a very high draft pick. So I think that's probably a good trade for them. It might be the best sort of situation for him there. Gives Toronto certainly another scorer. Maybe the most underrated player for me in this trade, though, would be Emmanuel Quickly. Really like this guy's game. And as much as I love DS17, I reckon he could really challenge Schroeder for that starting point guard role in Toronto. It'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with that throughout the rest of the season there. But, yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent trade. What were your thoughts on it?
Let's start with Toronto. Firstly, about coming back home is great. As I said, he's a Raptors fan. It's a nut fit there. It's a great story for him to have. I was looking at his shooting splits over the last 3-4 years in New York, and they're very below par. He's just 50% from 2, right? And his 3-point percentage has been hovering around 30%. I'm not talking about field goal percentage. He's just 2-point shots less than 50%, and 3-point shots are in the early 30s, right? He has a high usage rate. And I think, with Jalen Brunson coming there, and actually your boy Randall always needing the ball, and these guys need the ball in their hands. RJ Barrett was becoming a of their needs. So what are they? Two guys who are perfectly made for Tom Thibodeau, and Precious Achiuwa and OG Anunoby. They're the exact type of players that Tibbs loves to throw. These guys do the dirty work, happy to play off the ball, don't need plays run for them, right? So you've got a 3-and-D guy. All OG needs to do is lock on hit that corner 3, right? And he's going to fit into that beautiful. They've got some more depth at that big man position. Precious Achiuwa coming in. If you look at Toronto, let's move over to Toronto now. We said RJ Barrett was great, but as you said, the big pickup for them is Emmanuel Quickly. I think Emmanuel Quickly, Scott Barnes is like a match made in heaven, right? Those two are going to play great together, and he's given the keys to that team now, and Pascal Siakam still has the odd game, but he isn't as involved in the offense anymore as Scotty Barnes is taking the front seat there. So I think maybe they can look for a trade for Pascal as well and retool the team and have a new look. He said, I think, as he said on the run sheet, both teams have done pretty well. As mentioned earlier, it's a fair trade for both people, both franchises. I think both should be pretty happy with what to ride from this trade.
The two headline players in OG and RJ have both been on that trading block for a while, haven't they? We've been hearing rumours about OG all season there. I think he's probably a little bit of untapped there. Maybe it's that situation. He just needs a bit of a change, right? Been with the team for a while, maybe going to that situation. He'll probably thrive playing in that MSG crowd there. They're going to love his defense and just that, general hustle and effort that he gives there. Plus, he's an improved sort of outside shooter if he stays healthy, which has been an issue for him in the past. But, looking forward to see Barrett. I don't think he's played his first game yet for Toronto, right? I think that might be tomorrow. So, be interested to see. I'm sure when he's first...
So one thing I will say is they got young Pirtle at the trade deadline last year, and he has not been good, right?
No, they got him back, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, Achiuwa's been better. The one hit that Toronto really take is in that front court, right? Getting rid of Precious, who's a good player. I really rated him, right? He does all the dirty work, and I liked him. So I think they need to probably look at, finding some more depth in the front court of the trade deadline, and maybe they can use Pascal Siakam to do that, right?
For sure. Now, it'll be interesting to see how these guys go. And I guess just to round out our NBA thoughts, Woods, thought we'd do a quick Aussies in the NBA segment. We like doing those, right? So two guys I wanted to talk about. I know a couple of guys we both really like, in Dante Exum and Exum and Reath, right? How good are these two guys playing?
Let's just go to Dante Exum. I got these stats got in front of me. Over the last month, right? 18.3 points, 3.8 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1 steal while shooting 61% from the field.
Yeah, field goal
right?
percentage.
And we talked about Dallas and how you were wrong about them earlier. You said, I expected them to do worse. A big part of why they've done well is even when a Kyrie Irving is out, Dante steps in the starting lineup. They don't miss a beat. I think last I checked, they were 19 and 15 or something like that, right?
Yeah, about 4 or 5 over 500.
Yeah. So I mean, and as far as Exum and Reath, that just came out of nowhere, right? He's had a few DNP CDs since his game. You've noticed.
Well, he's dropped off there. I wonder if his internet was playing up a little bit, so I'll just wait for him to get back on. so we don't have to restart this. I guess I'll continue the chat there. Woody mentioned Duop Reath there. Look, he's had a couple of limited minutes.
Yeah.
As
mine cut out.
Woods comes back. Your internet's terrible today, brother.
Yeah, I don't know what's up.
Yeah, your missus is watching Netflix 100%, right?
No.
Is Skittles, your dog, watching something online? Or?
No. Okay, so let's where were we at when I left?
We'll keep this going. I'll sort of talk a little bit. We won't bother restarting. You were talking about Duop Reath. Said he had a couple of DMP CDs. I believe he's had a bit of a back injury, so I think that might be part of the reason why he's missed a few of these games. But continue your thoughts on Duop. Yeah,
so I think what's the rule with the players that are on a two-way contract? Do they have a certain amount of games they can play before their contract has to be turned into a full contract?
We'd have to fact check that one. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. But so he had 25 and 9, man. 9, I think, how many threes did he have that game? He had quite a few, right? 4 threes that game, did he?
Definitely stretching the floor.
But so, he's had some moments, and I think what he's done is proven he can be an NBA back big in this league. So it's really going to set him up for his future. And really good for the Olympics looking forward.
I was going to say that. I mean, look, he's averaging 9 points a game in only 15 minutes. But, both these guys I've mentioned, I'd expect probably both of them to be starting in the Olympics this year. It was funny to say that now. And it's great for them coming in. We saw guys like Exum, who's playing pretty well in Europe, but I think it's going to be a lot more meaningful and bigger games that he's playing in here. And I think his confidence is going to be up as well, right? Exum's someone that feels like he's been around for ages, but look, he's only 28 years of age, Wood. So he's in that peak of his career at the moment. It almost feels like he should be, early 30s maybe. I was almost surprised when I saw that he was 28, but no, it's been good to watch. Obviously Dallas as well with Josh Green. Nice to see a couple of Aussies there and a couple of Aussies on Portland with Matisse Thybulle and Duop. So let's hope when we go to that Hawks-Portland game that both those Aussies will be playing, and we'll give them a bit of a clap and a quiet cheer if they score against the Hawks.
For sure, man. For sure.
Yeah. And Duop Reath, when are we getting his jersey? I know we like to get these new Aussies in the NBA jerseys.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
It's got to be one we get, right? Because he's that random number as well. 27, I think it is 27. Yeah. It's a number that, doesn't sort of, not a lot of people have. So, all right, I appreciate that, Wood. So plenty to talk about in the NBA world. We haven't done a normal podcast like this for a couple of weeks. We did the 100th episode and we had a bit of a break over the Christmas break. So let's get into some NBL. I know we're going to do a bit of a round 14 preview soon, but let's start off with a bit of a round 13 review there. Look, it feels strange. I think tonight's going to be the first night with no NBL for nearly 2 weeks. I think it was 12 games of Christmas or whatever. So I'm actually looking forward to a couple of nights off, as much as that sounds weird because I'm a basketball junkie, just to not have to watch some basketball tonight. What were your thoughts on those round 13 games? Anything that stood out for you in particular?
Look, Adelaide, they just really bad, man. They need to retool. I know there was some talk of keeping Scott and Nazr around, but there's some problems there. I just get the vibe from everything that you can see, the language of the players and everything, that all is not right there. So I think there's a cause for concern. You've seen all the other teams start by, it's getting really hot now. I mean, outside of Sydney, Tasmania, and Perth, Sydney, Tasmania, and Melbourne, playing 500 ball at the moment.
It's close,
so
isn't it?
This is going to heat up, man. Yeah.
I think you're right with Adelaide Woods. They're a team that I could see maybe with 7 new guys on that roster next season. I'm not sure what they'll do with their imports there, but I could see them really offloading some of that Aussie talent. Guys like Mitch McCarron, Sunday Detch. I think they'd like to keep Isaac Humphries. He's been one of their bright spots this year. Not sure what his contract situation is, but clearly something needs to give there. But you're right about how tight the ladder is. It feels like Tassie have dropped a few lately.
Yep.
I know it was a big win for New Zealand in that game last night, as I mentioned, with Tuesday the 2nd of January at the time of recording. And Cairns beating Melbourne for the second time this year. What was going on in that game?
Yeah, I mean, Cairns have got wood on Melbourne, right? That can time this season they've won. Cairns is very Jekyll and Hyde. They can beat the best team in the league easily, and then they'll go lose to the worst team in the league. So you don't know what Cairns is going to turn up on which day. They're sitting at 9 and 11 now, very much still in that play-in hunt, right? So you've got now Illawarra, New Zealand, even Brisbane is still in it, Cairns, Southeast Melbourne. These guys are all in that middle of the pack fighting for those 2 play-in spots outside of the aforementioned 4 teams I spoke of, right? Yeah. So it's going to be a tight race going through the play-off, man. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you as well, I know you would have seen that Southeast against Brisbane game with Gary Brown getting a little bit angry in that game, and I guess it was a punch. It wasn't like a full-on fist punch. It was more a punch to the body of Aaron Baines there. What were your thoughts on that? I know he's done something similar this year. I was surprised personally that he didn't at least get a game for that. It was just a monetary fine, I believe. But what was your thoughts on that one?
Well, Derek Rucker was saying it's not related to the first incident, It was dealt with as a separate issue. But I don't know why. This guy's showing a pattern of doing this twice in a short space of time, right? And I think one of the guys, maybe it was Jabrin or Derek Rucker, said, look, he didn't make a proper connection. But imagine if it was a smaller guy, and he did make a proper connection with that force. You could be looking at long-term damage to the head, etc. The NBL didn't like 1 or 2 games would have been a fair result here. But they didn't go with the financial fine of a couple of $1,000, like.
Well, I'm sure their owner's pretty cashed up, right? He'll probably be paying for that. Yeah. But yeah, I think it doesn't set a good precedence. The fact that he did have some history, you've got to sort of take that all into consideration if there's been other incidents this year. So yeah, very surprised he didn't at least get a one game for that. So I guess he can count himself lucky that he'll be playing in round 14. On that, maybe let's get into this round 14 preview. As I said, we've got a couple of days off. You're potentially going to 2 games in three days or something, which is interesting. You might have to. You're just going to pick one of those.
I think I'll Friday, Sunday, but I'll go to Thursday. So why don't you take it away? Can you see that?
Yep. All right. So we're starting off in that Thursday night game between the Kings and Melbourne. It's going to be a good one, isn't it? I think the Kings found their way into a little bit of form with that game. It was good to see Valentine finally do something with the Kings. I was getting a bit worried about him. Yeah, he really looked good in that game. Still seems to be a few lineup issues maybe that they're trying to work out, but what's your thoughts on that one?
We can win this game. I mean, it's very close, $2 to 178. You can see the odds there. Melbourne United have just, had a tough loss to Cairns, and Sydney are coming off a great win at home against Cairns last week.
Yeah.
And I think the crowd are going to get behind them, and I think Sydney's really going to go on a bit of a run here, I feel, and probably lock up that second or third spot.
Nice.
So I'm going to go Sydney to win by less than 10. Yeah.
I'm going to say Sydney to win that one as well, which is kind of surprising. So we'll enjoy the game when you go, Woods, and leave your vape at home that game. All right, so the next game we've got Illawarra playing against South East. So Friday night game down in the Gong there. So both standalone games. We've got one Thursday, one Friday. But quite like this game on paper, actually. Interesting to see the favourites Illawarra in this game. You wouldn't have thought that, a month or two ago. But they're playing some pretty good ball. Still, getting the best out of that very deep rotation. But I'm going to say the Hawks in that game. What are your thoughts?
For sure. Southeast Melbourne have been up and down, right? They've got a lot of injuries that they're dealing. Abdul Nader's taken a while to get settled in, whereas you look at the Illawarra side of things, they're a very settled team. They're really following behind Coach Tate. And all the guys are stepping up and playing for one another. And so Illawarra at home at the Wynn Entertainment Centre on a Friday night, expect a sellout crowd there. Illawarra to take it.
Should be good. I think this next game is pretty big as well. We mentioned Cairns. I think it's the first time they've got a single round for quite a while, this round there. Playing against Tassie, have been a little bit shaky there. It's Tassie stay on their home court there. So I know you'll be pretty keen to check out this one, the early game on Saturday. I'm finding this almost a bit of a coin toss, this one. Tassie's pretty heavy favourites on odds there. I'm going to say Tassie. I don't think Doyle and Crawford can probably both have stinkers like they did in that game yesterday. Crawford, he had 2 really good looks at the end, didn't he? And the second one was probably as good a look as you're ever going to get in the back rim there. So I say they probably bounce back and knock off your second team Cairns in that one.
I hate to agree with you, but I do. Tassie need to win that one. All right.
As we mentioned, a bit of a smaller round, isn't it? Yeah. So
6 games.
The fourth game. So we can only see 3 of them there. You got another side there up now. Yep. All right. So Adelaide and Melbourne. So that's the second game on the Saturday night. Look, I'm going to say Melbourne bounce back. I think we both picked Sydney to beat them on that Thursday game. So I don't see a team like Melbourne losing 2 in a row there. So I think Melbourne to bounce back. I'd be shocked if you had anything different for that one, right?
No.
Yeah. All right, well, on to the next one. So this should be a decent game, right? So this is the early game on Sunday. I'll have to make sure I'm home and not watching some kids' movie with my daughter or something at that time. So the Breakers taking on the mighty Perth Wildcats. Very similar odds in that game there. Wow, that's a tough one. My head's maybe saying New Zealand for this one, Woods. Wildcats have been on a pretty brutal, road trip the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the heart's saying the Wildcats. I don't like to do it. I'm going to say New Zealand. What have they won? 3 in a row there. Yeah, I'm going to say New Zealand get up in a really tight one here against the Wildcats. What are your thoughts on that one?
They've won 4 in a row, actually, New Zealand. Yeah, okay. They're on a bit of a roll. But I'm going to go Perth. New Zealand, Perth will be excited to get back home. This is the last game on that road trip, right?
Yeah.
After spending a lot of time away from families and stuff, they'll be motivated. So I'm going to go with Perth marginally.
Okay. Nice. No, looking forward to that one, actually. To finish it off, I think you mentioned maybe you won't be going to that one. It's that time you're not a massive fan of, the sort of the late Sunday afternoon game there. So the Kings taking on the Bullets there. Those 3 big guys are going to challenge you, I reckon. Talking Rocco and Harrison and big banger Bainesy there. So they're going to be giving some of your Kings guys some fits down low. But, yeah, do you think Brisbane are a chance in this one or what?
Not really. And I mean, if there's a team that can handle, a two-headed monster of Joe Baldwin and Jody Hunter, right? They've got some size as well, the Kings. I'm really interested to see Casey live. That's really why I want to go to that game.
Yeah. That was strange, wasn't it? Suited up and was very enthusiastic in watching that game the other day, but he didn't get on the court. So, not quite sure what the reason for that was. Normally, if a player's suited up, and I think he'd been in town a few days, but for whatever reason, they didn't play him. So maybe they just wanted to give him that extra break and get used to the team. But, yeah, it's an interesting round, isn't it? Probably an easier round to follow, right? Only games over 3 days, only 6 games total. So, yeah, get out and watch your games and, watch either in live or on your TV there and keep supporting the NBL. All right, Woods. Well, that brings us to kind of the last part of the show, and I know the part you love, so classic packs. It was interesting doing that very recent pack last week with Lala, and it was fun doing that, but I'm sure you've got a bit of a retro pack for us, right? Unless I'm mistaken.
I've got the Upper Deck Collector's Choice, 94.95.
Nice. I always like some Upper Deck, so yeah, looking forward to these. Okay. Ooh, nice.
All right. This guy is a legend. When we redrafted the 93 draft, I think it was the 93 draft, right? I said Sam Kell. Oh, sorry, I said his name. Sam Cassell. Yeah.
Nice. I could have done my normal ET jokes for him, so that's a nice one to start off.
Sorry, I said his name. I shouldn't have said his name, but Sam Cassell.
You're a bit rusty, Woods. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. A nice looking card for sure. Always like Upper Deck.
Yep. Okay, Milwaukee Bucks guard forward. It's not Knight, it is
Todd Day, one of my favourites.
Todd Day.
I was actually doing a bit of a write-up for some future jerseys, Woods, and he's going to be on an episode coming soon, Todd Day. And perhaps that same
You've got a Todd Day jersey?
I've got a Todd Day jersey. I was a big fan of him, so all right, I'll have that on sooner rather than later, that one to show you. Yeah.
All right. New York point guard also had a great career with Mavericks before joining the Knicks. Started on those Derek Harper.
Yeah. Pretty interesting commentator these days. You hear him going on there. Yeah, no, he was definitely a scoring point guard, wasn't he? Didn't really see a shot that he didn't like, old Derek Harper.
This guy was a shooter from the Mavericks. Guard
George McLeod.
Played for the Pistons, Lake Timberwolves, Knicks before joining the Mavericks. He was actually part of the Derek Harper trade. In fact, he was traded for Derek. He was traded from the Mavericks. He was traded from the Knicks to the Mavericks. And so we surprisingly, we just pulled Derek Harper's card, and he was traded for the next guy.
The only guy I can think of that was a good shooter with the Knicks was like Trent Tucker going back in the day. I don't think it's him, is it?
Tony Campbell.
Tony Campbell, nice. Yeah, he had some seasons with the Lakers. Certainly remember his time there. Nice.
Recently, Peter Hooley had Horace Grant on the Huddle podcast, and he asked him, how much would you go for? Have you got any spare pairs of goggles that you'd like to sell? Because that was a big part that stood out about Horace Grant. Your goggles were unique to you. Another great multiple-time star who wore goggles as well in the mid-90s and 80s.
So Moses Malone, right?
No. He's a forward from the Lakers.
Big Game James.
Right on.
Nice. What's that card? Is that a normal card, Woods, or is that something different on that?
No, just a normal card.
Just a normal one. They are nice cards, aren't they? Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, that premium feel about them. Yeah.
This guy was big-bodied guard, man. He had meat on. He initially started playing for the Heat and the Celtics.
Sherman Douglas.
Sherman Douglas.
The Sherman Tank. Yeah, he was a big-bodied guard. I quite liked the way he played back in the day.
Very famous for saving himself for marriage, let's say.
AC Green. There's another connection to the Lakers there. Some good Lakers connections in these cards. Yeah. Nice. He was a good player to have on your team, though, wasn't he, AC Green? Did all the dirty work. This
big man was a center for the Rockets. He didn't play much. He was a third string cup center on one of the champion teams. White guy.
All right.
White guy.
What number?
6'10".
Yeah, nice. Probably wouldn't have even thought about it.
You remember it?
Yeah.
Okay, we got a tip-offs Rockets card. Okay, this is basically featuring the greatest man in history. Who is it?
Was it Came the Dream by any chance?
Yep.
Nice.
This tip-off card says the Houston Rockets rode on Hakeem Olajuwon's back in 93-94 to win their first NBA championship title. Olajuwon named the 7th player in NBA history to win the NBA regular season MVP award and the NBA Finals MVP award the same year. He was also the NBA Defensive Player of the Year for consecutive season. Right?
Interesting fact about Olajuwon Woods. Obviously, he was the Nigerian American there. So I believe Houston's got the biggest population of Nigerian, immigrants, you'd say, in the whole of America. So, well, that was a fun fact hearing that one. So, yeah, no wonder they probably all wanted to follow Hakeem there.
Obviously, college in Houston, as well as his professional career in Houston. He has a long history with.
Hey, Woods, got to say these clues are very hard this week with your internet, but I'm doing my best.
Okay, I apologize. All right. The dominant big men that play the game. Now he's in the commentary box.
Shaq.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Nice close-up photo of him. Very good.
Okay. Says when New York City's greatest point guard, left-hander. This is all-star card. Is that the Nets? Left-hander.
Avery Johnson. I couldn't hear most of your clues there, but Avery Johnson.
All-star.
All-star, left-handed point guard from the Knicks.
No, this is New Jersey Nets, but he's from New York.
Okay. All-star, lefty from New York. What number?
Number 7. You've got Jersey.
Oh, of course. Kenny Anderson. Yeah, of course. How could I forget him?
Kenny Anderson.
Nice.
And finally, from the Nets, someone you've liked in the past. Forward, right? Yes. Jersey, 59, 33, 94.
I literally got about one of your 10 clues on that one, Woods, with the internet. Give me another.
With Jersey. Played whole career with New Jersey.
Yeah.
From 8 to 93, 94.
And a forward, you're saying?
Yeah.
What number?
Morris.
Nice. Oh, he signed it for you as well.
Yes.
Very cool.
That's it. Internet. What's up?
Yeah, man, that was hard this week. Very hard with the clues with the net. So we do apologise. Hopefully it comes across a little bit better when we edit it tonight. But just wanted to thank everyone for joining in. It was great to be back, Woods. I know we obviously had that week off over Christmas, but it's good to be back into it. Look, obviously we've got a really another big year planned. We've got some special guests that we're kind of talking with at the moment. What do you reckon? When we go to America, we're going to try and record an episode somehow, some way there. It might just be an audio episode. I reckon we should do that, right? We'll try and do it in one of the hotel rooms.
We can do a video episode.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, and I'm sure they have better internet
Bring
in
all
American
the equipment and stuff.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Well, we'll try and do that.
No, what's up, man? Sorry.
It's all good, man. It's all good. So, look, as I mentioned at the start of the show, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We can be followed on X. You see what I did there, Woods? I said I wasn't mentioning the old name from this year, so we can be followed on X at Throwbacks Hoops, on Instagram, throwback.hoops, and, of course, our email address, throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Please also, if you want to chuck a few dollars our way on Patreon, it really does help us with the costs associated with bringing this weekly show to everyone there. So, Woods, a final thought, anything you're looking forward to for this round of NBL games, or any final closing words from you?
I'm looking to see the Kings win, hopefully 2 out of 2 games this round. So, yeah, it's 12 days of game in a row, nice little break, and order the game starting in the end of the week.
Nice, and I know you'd be liking that nighttime game Thursday night. I know they suit you better there. So, all right, well, yeah, big peace out from the Throwback Hoops crew. We can't wait to do it all again.